Wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly.
Use the front door!
Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, which means it's another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
The 13th Wolfman.
Oh, everybody.
And today, we're joined by our very special guest, director of the new movie, Mom and Pop, the indie video store boom of the 80s and 90s. We have Bobby Knipe. Did I say it right?
You said it right. And sorry about that long subtitle.
No, that's okay. No,
You're
it
not
stands
sorry.
out. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it's appropriate, you know?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
As
So
my dad would say, if you were sorry, you would have never done it.
that's right.
There you go. What's
Yeah.
funny about that title is like a lot of people try to come up with a title and they try different ideas. That was literally the first thing that I come up with. And I was like, I don't think I can come up with a better
It
one.
works.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well,
Thank
the people that would be searching a documentary like this out would totally respect that title. Like they told me all about it. So I know like Tony's a little bit, you guys are both a little bit younger than Wolfie and I, but
I like
I mean,
hearing that because I don't hear that a lot. So
yeah, I don't hear it that much. Yeah. I that's why I accept old jokes when I'm like on other shows because I always give them to Wolfie. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
what's good for the goose? But and Sergio's in the chat room. You just want to say hi. Hello, Sergio.
Hey, what's up, man?
So this is a documentary about indie mom and pop movies, rental places, which is my bread and butter. I was able to find so much stuff in my youth that like molded me onto who I became as a movie fan. And so this is paying homage
You
to
wouldn't
that.
be a horror movie fan if you didn't see the movie Summer School, which he rented from a mom and pop store. I mean,
There
it
you
was
go.
because of that he discovered Texas Chainsaw.
Exactly. Thanks for wrecking that for me. I appreciate that. But actually, the first movie I ever bought was at a mom and pop video store because we didn't have Walmarts in my area. Like we had other department stores, but I would go to the one in my area was actually in the basement of a comic book store. So I would go there for comics and I'd go downstairs and I would rent the same things over and over again because I knew I liked it. And eventually I was just like, I should just buy this because I'm renting.
Yeah.
It was Ghostbusters. I'm like, I should just buy it because I'm renting it over and over again. And I bought it for $35. The first movie I ever bought was Ghostbusters on VHS.
The first mom and pop store, though, I mean, I'm one of the guys in your documentary said, I remember getting a top loader and
Yeah,
we had a top loader. We had a top loader VHS. We also had a Betamax, but the cool thing is when the only place that we could really rent from at one point was a place called The Warehouse, which became FIE, which got bought up by FIE. But in order to rent from them, you had to give them like a serious deposit. It's like, okay, you want to rent 3 movies. Each movie's got to have a deposit of like about $70.
Oh, geez.
So you're like, okay, here you go. Here's $200 and some odd dollar deposit, because in case something happens to the tapes, they got to replace them because they were expensive as hell back then. Not long after that, a mom and pop store just opened up just down the road from me, and to this day, it's Opening Night Video was the name of the place. And it was the coolest place to walk into because you could go in there and you get posters. They would have all the recent movie posters, and some of them were horror. And so you walk in there and go, "Oh, dude, I'd love to have that poster." And I go, "Well, go over, pull up a little corner, and put a price on it, what you would pay for that poster." So you go over there, and go $5. They go, okay, if no one bids any higher, and when we take that down, that's your poster.
That's cool.
that is cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's stories like that inspired you to create this documentary.
Yeah. So actually, What? So I've always went to mom and pop video stores. I grew up out in the country in North Carolina. I was probably an hour from the closest Blockbuster. The only thing I knew growing up with Blockbuster was I'd have a few friends that would talk about it, or at the beginning of some VHS tapes I'd watch, it would have a Blockbuster commercial and say, "Make it Blockbuster night," kind of thing. And I always was like, I don't know what that is, but that's the only thing I really knew of it. Where I rented from, primarily, there was about 4 mom and pops around me that we would go to. The closest one was a gas station called Cat Square Superette, and it was like I could ride my bike to it. It was like half a mile, quarter of a mile, and it was a convenience store that cut meat in the back, and then they had one aisle of tapes, and it was convenient. I could go there. They didn't have a huge selection, but that's where I found Pumpkinhead. Watched Freddy's Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead. I remember watching that a lot. Howling Part 4. All this stuff I rented, and they didn't have a huge selection, so I just rented over and over and over again the same one. But then there was other ones that I'd go to, and I'd see the crazy stuff like 555, video violence, stuff like that, like Cannibal Campout. And I'd rent them at like 8 or 9 years old, like because my mom just let me rent whatever. I recently worked with Donald Farmer on a movie, and he did Cannibal Hookers, and I remember being 8 years old and renting Cannibal Hookers and going home and watching it, and stuff like that. But one night I was flipping through Netflix, and this was early last year, and I saw the last Blockbuster pop up, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So I watched the whole thing, and I mean, obviously none of the memories stuck with me because I had none of those memories. So when the movie went off, I think I posted on Facebook something about like, hey, last Blockbuster was a really good movie. It was very well made. It was an entertaining movie, but I wish somebody would make one about the mom and pop stores that we went to, the crazy things that happened there. Because I mean, it was kind of like the Wild West. Like they did whatever, They didn't have like a corporate looking over them. But anyway, I posted that, had a ton of response. People were talking about it. And the next day after that, I thought I should make this documentary. So I figured I'd just completely leave it up to fate. I started an Indiegogo, and at the time I thought, $5,000, that's way more than I need to make this movie. So I've realized since then that was not a good number. That was a little low. But we've made it work. But I made that, and I did the Indiegogo settings where if we meet it, we get it, or we get nothing. It's all or nothing. So I did it, and then literally like less than 2 weeks, I think it was like 12 days, it completely exceeded the goal. Wow. And I figured, okay, we're making a movie, and then we just jumped right into it.
That's awesome. And you got some notable people that you were able to sit down and interview. Some of them are friends of the show.
Awesome. James.
James Balsamo has been on the show multiple times. I'm actually good enough to have been edited out of a James Balsamo movie. That's how good of an actor I am. There's that. But James is the man. He's awesome. And I think Lloyd Kaufman's in the movie too, right?
Yeah, he is. We announced him earlier. And then we went on a little road trip for almost 2 weeks where we went all the way up the East Coast, all the way up to Maine, went over, drove everywhere. And the first stop was supposed to be to meet Lloyd Kaufman to interview him, but he hurt his back or something, wasn't able to do it. So we were worried we weren't going to be able to get him. But literally earlier today, we were able to secure a date to go interview him. So we're going to go pick him up at the end of this month, along with the guys from Hack the Movies on YouTube and the Movie Dumpster podcast. We're going to go talk to them as well. And then we've got one other guy that we're just waiting on confirmation. And then literally 5 minutes before I jumped on, I haven't even announced this. So this is like literally like it's announcing right now. The creator of The Last Blockbuster is going to be part of the film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's going to give a perspective from that side, like between because one of the questions we brought up was, what do you think the main difference was between mom and pops and the big guys? And a lot of people are like, oh, the mom and pops were evil corporate entities, and that's a valid point in some questions, but he's going to give that side of it from a person that grew up going to Blockbuster, but he also went to mom and pop, so he was raised around both.
Yeah, I mean, there was, I mean, I would go to the mom and pop stores to find like the hard to find stuff. Like
absolutely,
there was one in like downtown Worcester, Mass. That upstairs it was like all like weird art house films, and he had an art house like horror section. And me and my friend Bill would just rent the most messed up stuff that we could find. And sometimes we're like, wow, I regret this 100%. But there's other ones that it's like, it's such a not great movie, but it stuck with me to the point where I was like, okay, now I just have to track this down. Like I need to track it down now. So like I ended up trading someone for a rip of Gore Whore because we rented Gore Horror on VHS, and we are like, "What the hell is this?" But I have it on DVD, and I traded someone like some other like multiple DVDs for that copy of Gore Horror on DVD, just because I wanted it.
Well, that's like one of the things that sticks with me so much is in these mom and pops were these video store VHS covers that were overly gory, overly violent, that you wouldn't see at Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, or any of those, because they would never put that on the shelf. Movies like Lunch Meat by Kirk Alex, and Cannibal Camp Out by John McBride, like those were ones that had those extremely gory covers that you only saw at mom and pops or independent video stores.
Cannibal Camp Out.
I was gonna bring that up with, like, many a times I walked into mom and pop stuff. I might never seen a movie, like ever rented it, but like later in my life, I remember just the cover art that I'm like, I know that. It's like I remember
seen the cover from Nail Gun Massacre.
Exactly. I've never seen it before, but I look at it, I'm like, I remember going into like a mom and pop shop and seeing that. The other thing that all mom and pop shops had, I don't know if you guys had it, but they had the back room for
the adult room,
more adult room and stuff like that. It's like, I know exactly what's in that room.
So. We talk about that too, because it's funny how different. Like, we have the ones that are like beaded curtains, or the curtain, the black curtain, but there was ones that had like saloon doors.
That's I was gonna say that opening night had the saloon doors. Exactly.
It's awesome, man. And just to kind of go back to the video cover, a lot of the memories that I had growing up when I was interviewing people, they'd have the same memories. And I was like, wow, we all shared the same memory. Like, one of the video cover arts that influenced me a whole lot, that literally I've heard almost every interview, was the Wizard Big Box of Zombie. Everybody remembers the Wizard Big Box of Zombie,
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool to make this documentary because so many people share these same memories,
Yeah. It really is crazy to think, like, there's so many movies that, I mean, it's a little, I mean, obviously it's way different now, but even with Blockbuster, there's movies that I would check out just because of the cover. Like, that's how I stumbled across most of the trauma stuff that I got into, was because they always had the coolest covers, And then totally off the subject of that style of movie, like movies like The Professional or whatever, like I like the cover for that. So I was like, I need to check that out, because he reminded me of Les Claypool from Primus. So like, I'm gonna rent that movie, and then I ended up loving the movie. But yeah, even like stuff like Freaked, and they just had cool covers. So it's like, all right, I'm renting it, and then I'm gonna be in love with this movie. The end.
Yeah, covers. You're right though. Covers were a big thing. It's like you'd go there, and I mean, I remember seeing. So there are 3 different covers for Alice Sweet Alice.
Oh yeah.
There's Alice Sweet Alice. Yeah. There's Communion. And what was it? There's a third one. I don't remember what the title is, but I wound up renting all 3 movies at 3 different times.
Right.
Not knowing at the time that they were the exact same movie. They were just different releases. I'm like, oh, Communion looks cool. Oh, it's got Brooke Shields in it. Okay, cool, no problem. Alice Sweet Alice looks great.
Brooke Shields in this one too.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. Then you
I'm on a real Brooke Shields kick. Let me get this other one. Yeah.
Then they put it in for like 5 minutes, going, just a second. And then, so you wind up going back to the store, and you're talking to the the College of Horror Knowledge that sits behind the desk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And this was the best part. You could sit there and talk to somebody. Oh yeah, you like that? Well, and he would give you the lowdown on everything. He or she. I shouldn't say he, because there were just as many females working at these places that there were guys that knew their stuff. So, but yeah, and you just stand there and you just talk to this person for like, 20 minutes, because you could walk. I could walk home. It wasn't like I had to jump on a bus or anything. It's like, oh, leave here, go home. And it was a communal thing. You go into like a Blockbuster or a video, Hollywood Video or something like that. You're like, oh yeah, so what do you recommend? They're like, I work here. Yep. Yeah, great. That's good to know.
that was it. At the mom and pops and the independent ones, it's like either you work there because your family owned it, or you work there because you actually really wanted to work there, because you like movies. So you would find that a lot. And there was a little old lady that owned the video store kind of not the closest one, Cat Square Superette, but one a little bit further away, Community Video. She had the upstairs. If you went up the steps at the top, there was a Freddy Krueger stand up, and the whole upstairs was horror movies. And I mean, awesome. The craziest thing you could think of. And she loved them. She loved horror movies, and she had to be in her 60s. And you know, I remember talking to her and just her saying she just loved horror movies, and the gorier the better. And she was like the sweetest little old lady you've never.
Okay, you're describing my mom right now.
Yeah,
seriously, my mom is a sweet little old lady who's into horror. She got me into horror.
That's great. So, my mom got me into horror. So my mom had me at a really young age. She had me when she was 17, so we kind of grew up together. And you know, she let me just watch whatever. And you know, we'd get Whoppers and popcorn and sit on the couch and, you know, go through all the sleepaway camps. You know, like it was cool. Night of the Demons. We'd watch all the Night of the Demons, stuff like that.
That sounds like the 90s for me, like right there. That's like all of the 90s. Like I would just Whoppers and popcorn, like legit. Like that's where we'd go. Like they had like the 99-cent Whoppers. We would just load up on them, get popcorn. We just sit in my friend Mike's basement, rent a bunch of movies. It was it was ridiculous.
That was the good days, man. You know?
It was.
I saw The Exorcist at the age of 6 with my mom in the theater. You know,
imagine being that old,
man.
Yeah, imagine being that old, Bobby, where you go see it in the theater. Wow. It's crazy.
There's Sergio, one of those zingers.
Yeah. Sergio always asks what your favorite horror movies. So we actually talked a little bit about it beforehand, and you said your favorite movie of all time is 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep. 74 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So like I said, my mom let me watch pretty much whatever I wanted. So we were in Cannibal Campout and stuff. But for some reason, my mom would never let me watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And now I wonder why, because it's not really that bad at all.
There's no gore.
No, but
very suspenseful.
She went when she was a kid to the drive-in when it came out in the drive-in. She was 14, 15 years old. And, you know, people were losing their minds over that movie in the drive-in when it released because there was nothing like that. So she watched it one time in the drive-in. It scarred her for life. You know, she's one of those people that remembers it having tons of gore when there wasn't, you know, and she was terrified of it. So she would always be like, you can watch whatever you want in this whole video store but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So it kind of built up this in my head that's like, this is going to be the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life, you know? So I think I was about 10 years old, and by then I'd watched everything you could think of. And I was like, I'm ready to watch it. And she's like, are you sure you're ready? And I watched it, and like, I was just glued to the screen the whole time. I loved everything about it. And when it was over, I wasn't scared or anything about it, but I told my mom, I was like, I think I remember being 10 years old and telling my mom, I think that's the best horror movie I've ever seen in my life, you know? And it stuck with me. And I have 4 daughters. My oldest daughter's 11, and it's her favorite horror movie. So that's awesome. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, I don't know. That's great. So just, it's totally off subject of your documentary, but what are your thoughts on the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre that's coming out on the 18th? All right.
So I'm a fan, honestly. I'm a fan of this. I say the series, you know, but I love 1. I love part 2. I don't mind part 3. I was able to meet RA and talk to him for a little while, and when he told me stories about behind, I kind of enjoyed it more. I hate Next Generation. Like I can't
you and everybody else on the planet.
Yeah. What's funny is there's like a group of young people in their early 20s that are into like the A24 films and stuff, which I don't mind A24, but the ones that are into the really like art side of our A24 that think it's like that Next Generation is like the greatest thing that ever happened, and I don't understand it. Yeah. But my thought on the new one is it looks super gory. It looks like there's a ton of blood in it, so I'm excited about that. And I don't see any way it's worse than Next Generation. So
I was on another show this past weekend, and we were talking about it, and I was talking about it with Wolfie on Sunday, and there's a few things that just don't add up. I mean, obviously it doesn't add up. So first off, I was like, okay, so they saw that the new Halloween movies with Jenny, it's working, so they're having Sally come back, and it's the same deal. And then they also say 50 years later. It's not 50 years later. And if that was the case, then Leatherface, because they're saying he's 60 in this movie. Yeah. That he would have been 13.
There's no way.
There's no way, unless he was just a giant 13-year-old. I mean, that's possible, but there's no way.
Well, they did that in the Texas Chainsaw 3D too, when they
Mhm.
had her saying that she was the baby in 1974,
Yeah.
Alexandra Daddario, and then it's
Mhm.
like 2021 or 2014 or whatever, and they're walking around with cell phones, and I'm like, wait a minute, she'd
Mhm.
be a lot older than 21, 22 years old, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they hope people just don't notice, but that's
I
When you
guess
talk,
so.
unfortunate. It's unfortunate,
Well,
but we're gonna notice. Yeah.
well, at that point in time, it's just like, especially when it is made for a wider audience, they're not expecting everybody to sit there and have the
dude,
knowledge of like,
it's
Yeah.
basic math though. We're not
Yeah.
talking.
no,
We're
but
talking about everything that you learn like in the
But
first grade.
I'm,
1 and
yeah,
1
but
is 2.
I'm not talking about like horror fans. I'm talking about the people that watch it for, just popping a movie on. They're not expecting people to be like, hold on,
Yeah,
that was
but what ruined it was
1974.
basic math. I mean, honestly.
I
at
mean,
the
they
same
could
time
have just
too,
not put 1974 at the beginning of that movie, but when they show the old scene, they put 1974, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
just don't put that, you know, like
Right.
that might help.
So yeah, that's the thing. Is it? I mean, I'm hoping beyond hope that I'll enjoy it. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, yeah, this doesn't. There's things about it that I don't like. So I was seeing a meme of Leatherface in the like the field, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that it was that. I didn't know it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought it was actually a sequel to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark,
It looks like
because that's
Harold.
what it kind of looks. That's what it looked like. But
Yeah.
but I agree. The trailer has got a lot of gore in it. And I'm hoping for the best. I mean, I'm
I
gonna
am
give it.
too.
I'm gonna give it a solid chance.
I'll
We
be
gotta say
honest,
hey to
there's probably no way it's going to be good because I heard that, they sold off the rights to Netflix instead of releasing it in theaters. So that right there kind of gives you a bad sign. But
yeah.
if it's just fun and gory, I mean, that's fine. I'll have
Yeah.
fun with it. It's not
So-
costing me anything.
Right. So that's the thing. So going back into like the subject of your documentary. So back in the day, we would rent movies based off the cover. We wouldn't even see a trailer half the time. Do you think it's more forgiving then than it is now? Like there's
Yes.
movies that are just garbage movies that I ended up liking because I spent money to rent it. Now it's like
Absolutely.
I'm
A lot of
spending.
times they would pay more for the cover art than the movie cost.
Mm.
And a lot of times they'd have scenes on the front that were not even in the movie
Oh
at
yeah.
all. Going back to Cannibal Campout, that cover of that movie,
Exactly.
that's not in the movie at all.
Exactly.
But I rented it because I'm like, oh man, there's gonna be a cannibal eating some girl's guts out beside a freaking campfire or whatever. But
and that
they
was
would do
a
stuff
that
like
was a Shaudio movie. That was shot on video. That
Shot
was
on
that
video,
was
yeah.
that was as cheap as you could get at the time. It was like, hey, you got a video camera? With the the old VHS plug in, and it's like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
sure, let's go make a movie.
That's it. And they sold like crazy because a lot of people that we've got in mom and pop, I wanted to get some of those people that had their movies in there because a lot of them self-distributed themselves. They drove to all these video stores with a trunk full of their tapes and said, hey, will you buy 2 copies? And the video store would look at it like, how much are they? $20 a piece? Okay, cool. We're having to pay $100 from the studios, or we can buy 2 copies from you for $40.
Mhm.
And it made money. That's why a lot of the mom and pops had those cheap ones because it was cheaper for them to get it. They circumvented the whole distribution process. But we talked to Tim Ritter, who did Truth or Dare and Killing Spree. We've got him in the movie. Donald Farmer's obviously in the movie. We've got Gary Cohen, who did Video Violence in the movie. We've got a ton of people like that had their videos and self-distributed. They told us stories about having to go to the video stores and go in and pitch their movie. Tim Ritter told me one guy was like, well, I'm interested, but I want to watch the movie. And Tim's like, okay, I'll let you borrow a copy. He's like, no, I want you to sit beside me. So they sat beside each other at the counter and watched the entire movie in silence.
Wow.
And then he decided he didn't want it. But,
Oh, geez.
yeah, but I
Wow.
mean, there's so many crazy stories about every aspect of the mom and pop. It's
I
really
didn't know
great.
that part of it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's like almost like back in the day when they would like, drive like to distribute like a movie in a movie theater.
Night of the Living Dead, yeah. When he would George Romero went from region to region with the film on the back of his Buick.
That's pretty sick.
know?
Like,
Yeah.
especially like, I was already looking forward to checking this out, but now with stuff like that, I know is coming. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah,
Brother Max,
it
that
is
was
crazy.
nice.
Wow. So I do have the trailer for the movie. Any idea on when this may be getting released? And
Yep. So we're going to PA at the end of this month for 3 days, and then we've got one interview after that, and then we've wrapped production. We're ready to start editing. I'm going to start editing in April. I hope to be done by the end of April with it, and then have a full product in May ready to roll.
Wow. And is it going to be physical media only? Are you looking for like a streaming
So we've got, when we did the Indiegogo, there were so many copies that we sold from there. But we're going to look into distribution. We've had several distributors hit us up interested in distributing it. So for sure, it's going to be on streaming. It's going to be on DVD, all that stuff. We just don't know what distributor is going to put it out yet. So,
or you could just go the mom and pop way and self-distribute.
Well, he has to find stores.
There's any money in that right now.
Yeah, he's got to find stores. Good luck. I can't tell you like the last time, other than a Redbox. You're going to go Redbox to Redbox trying to sell you a movie? Come on.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're going to get some copies like, available online and stuff. That's where really it goes. That and streaming. I've got there's a lot of mom and pop stores that are actually still around. Not a ton, but some that we've got in the store or in the documentary that we've talked to. We went out to LA and visited Videotech out there, which is still a mom and pop video store. So we're going to make sure a copy of our movies in all of the mom and pop stores I'm not even going to charge them. I'm just giving them a copy of my movie because it needs to be in there. That's where it belongs, So I know they'll have them, and then they'll actually rent out copies of mom and pop from a mom and pop store,
that's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
You should do like all formats. You should do like VHS, DVD,
on Laserdisc.
Oh my God. What was that? What was that format that was like? It was like a Laserdisc. We had to flip it over.
CD.
I don't know. I remember watching the Star Wars trilogy on that over at my dad's friend's house, and it was miserable. But anyways, here's the trailer for Mom and Pop. I'm gonna have to read it because it's a long one.
Please go ahead.
The indie video store boom of the 80s and 90s, and here we go.
Is there a future for video stores, considering that now all these stores, like the supermarkets, convenience stores, are selling, renting videos? Is there going to be a future, or is there going to be a decline in video stores?
Well, I think it's going to be a great future.
Well, some of the biggest movie rental stores in North America, including here on Vancouver Island, are closing their doors or are teetering on bankruptcy.
The curtain has fallen on the Rogers Video and Game Rental Shop on Shelburne and Saanich today.
As technology has advanced over the decades, video stores have faded.
Remember renting movies from the video store? Seems like a thing of the past, a distant memory.
Everything had a video store at some point.
Going and actually talking to the people that have spent their lives watching all of this stuff.
I remember getting our first top-load VCR and immediately going with my dad and renting a copy of Stroker Ace.
It meant a lot in my life. It was a big part of my life. I gotta say, my wife hates it, but I used to be somebody when I had my video stores.
Having my poster in 112 Video, that was like such a beautiful moment.
I didn't really have any friends. I felt really isolated, and it was something I really looked forward to doing every week.
Kind of became like an American institution almost. That was a Saturday night.
I can't think of anything that was more formative to me discovering that I wanted to create things than exploring video stores as a kid.
It was just really fun just to have that whole environment going on back then like that.
Video stores are the mecca. It's the place where you can find people that are just like you.
I'm sold.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's and it is like there's parts that are touching too. Like when the guy's like, "Oh, I was somebody." I'm like, that's horrible to think that way. I'm like, I'm sure he was a big part of a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we're going to be putting out, I just want to tell everybody, we're going to be putting out another trailer as well. I don't want everybody to think the whole movie is sad. There are some funny stuff in there.
Yeah.
So the next trailer we're going to do is going to focus on the more funny, upbeat stuff. And we've got some insane stories that, like, if I didn't hear them from the person directly, I would never believe them. For instance, I'll tell you a little hint of something. One guy worked at a video store. And one day while he's working there with his boss who owned the video store, the FBI busts in with vests on and everything and arrests the guy because the guy was a wanted murderer and he had changed his name and come across the country and opened a video store and was living there running a video store undercover. and they showed us his story on America's Most Wanted, and somebody tipped him off and said, that's the guy who owns the video store. So
wow.
we actually sat down with him, not the guy that owned the video store, but the guy that worked with him. And he told like the whole story and stuff. And it's insane. It's just one of like many really crazy stories.
That's pretty awesome. Like it would have been cool if you got to talk to him in prison, like you just like behind the glass. He's like, yeah,
you use the voice modulator, you know?
Yeah.
I know that's pretty sick. So, you said you've been renting movies since you were a kid and you used to rent the same stuff. Is there particular movies that stick out in your mind that were the ones you rented over and over again?
Yeah. Night of the Demons 1 and 2, both were ones I rented a lot. Friday the 13th Part 5, which today is still my favorite Friday the 13th. I rented it a ton. I rented Freddy's Dead a whole lot, which as I've grown older, it's not that great of a movie. But as a kid, I really liked it,
Yeah.
Let's see. I actually rented Zombie a lot. Like the Lucio Fulci Zombie. I loved it. Return of the Living Dead 2. I really liked that one as a kid. I kind of identified with the little boy in Return of the Living Dead 2. It was, I was into that. Monster Squad. I was huge into Monster Squad as a kid. I don't know. I guess that kind of stuff. Now, the show Monsters, if you guys remember the TV show Monsters, we didn't have cable. We didn't really have the money to get cable when I was a kid. So the video store rented the episodes, 2 episodes on each tape. So I loved that. I used to rent that all the time.
Yeah.
And then as I got a little older, about 12 or so, 11, 12, I started renting stuff like Dr. Giggles, Ice Cream Man, stuff like that.
Dr.
Full
Giggles,
Moon stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I mean, when I was younger, I used to just rent the same stuff over and over again. It was actually a little before I was really deep into horror. And it was, like I said, it was Ghostbusters over and over again. Then it was the Ghostbusters like TV show, the old black and white TV show, like a live action one. That was weird.
It was from the 70s.
It wasn't black and white.
No.
Oh,
One with Tracy the Gorilla.
Sure. The cartoon. Okay.
Well, no, there was a live action.
There was a live
version
action version.
Oh, really? See, that was
before the cartoon. Yeah, it was before mine time too. It was it was old, but and I used to rent a bunch of Monty Python stuff, and used to rent out like old like serials on cassette. So I used to rent The Shadow and stuff like that. Just listen to old radio plays. I was a weird kid, but so
somebody had to rent them.
Exactly. So it was all it was all the mom and pop, and then when Blockbuster came in, I did start going to Blockbuster as well. But one thing I noticed quickly, and I don't know if this is something that you would bring up in your interview or whatever, but there was like Blockbuster edits. Like, so there was movies that were different. And like, when I found out afterwards, I'm like, this is not right. Like,
I remember Spielberg going after Blockbuster because of that.
I'll tell you something crazy that pertains to that. The last interview we did, we're talking to a guy, had no idea this was going to be brought up, but apparently in his town, there was a guy that was part of the church, real big Christian guy, started seeing how little kids and younger kids wanted to watch horror movies. So he would go rent the horror movie, edit everything out that was bad, and then redub different language in himself, and then rent out of his house Christian edited versions of horror movies.
And
I wish I could get my hands on one.
So I'm religious, so I'm going to do something that's highly illegal.
Here's the demons for the Christian crowd,
Making money.
That would probably cut the movie down to like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it's like here's a movie. Okay, here's a short and whatever.
But the complete Nightmare on Elm Street like series all on one tape. It's like
really.
It's like 45 minutes for the whole thing.
Right.
I remember like Kevin with me. It was more like I remember renting King Kong Lives all the time for some reason, all the time. And then the other one, only one of the video stores. We had 3 here. One used to rent out the old WWF VHS, like the pay-per-views. And I would specifically only rent the Royal Rumbles because Royal Rumble was always my favorite, pay-per-view. And I would just literally, and then they went out of business, so I ended up buying all the Royal Rumble tapes. But I remember renting wrestling or King Kong Lives. Those are my 2.
Yeah, mine were Italian movies. As much as I loved, I mean, I'd go there and I'd rent out like I said earlier, I'd rent around like Alice Sweet Alice, but man, when I walked into like opening night, I would just go, so what do you got? And I'd look and it's like the Bronx Warriors.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this group of, it was the most hilarious thing too, because it's supposed to take place in the Bronx, New York, but it's an Italian film. They're all riding Moto Guzzi's instead of Harleys. They're dressed like Harley bikers, and it was just so bizarre because you're like, just a second, why are they on Italian motorcycles, and how come it doesn't look anything like?
Well, you wouldn't find that. You probably wouldn't have found that at Blockbuster. I'm just saying, Mom and Pop.
No, you wouldn't, and that was the coolest thing. And I remember stumbling across this movie, and the cover was the thing. You had the leader of this biker gang, Trash, holding this spiked, it looked like a mace in a way, but it was spiked and it had a bunch of flails on the outside, and he's just screaming at the top of his lungs, and you're going, that looks fucking cool. I want to see this movie. An 11-year-old. My mom's kind of like, my mom's like your mom. She's just like, grab what you want, and
honestly, that I miss that. I wish that moms were still like that, because it's obvious that back then they were going through the whole, I think it was right after the Satanic Panic stuff. They thought, okay, if they play violent video games or they watch these movies, they're going to turn into a killer or something like that. Obviously that didn't happen. So just let kids watch stuff. I mean, obviously there's some stuff they shouldn't watch, but I mean, be a little bit more lenient. Cause I think we grew up fine,
Yeah,
sure. I guess. No, but there's definitely I really think that there's a lot of stuff that we dealt with as kids that made us who we are. And some kids are overly protected now. And it's I don't know what's going to happen. Everyone just expects a participation trophy for everything they do. And it's I lost all the time. I lost constantly. I don't know what it's like to win. So, I learned from that. But so it's kind of on the same subject, kind of not. But we've talked here and there about physical media now and how it's it seems like it's on its way out. Where do you see do you see that is the case? Do you think that do you think it's going to be just more boutique?
Yeah, I do. So when we went out to LA, we went out to Slashback Video. If you guys have heard about Slashback, and it's basically just an art installation made to look like an old video store. You can go in there and buy some t-shirts or stickers or a beer koozie, but all the videos there that are for rent are just to look at or take Instagram photos with or something, I do think that's what's going to happen. I think a lot of it's going to kick into art installation. People are all buying into nostalgia right now and retro, and they want to experience it, but they don't really want to support a video store and rent and then come bring it back and all that stuff. I mean, I'll be honest, as much as I love it, it is a hassle. I mean, it is much easier to get on your TV and click on it. I mean, it's just the truth. So I think that as a whole, as a grand scheme, is probably gone. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think you're going to see little stores here in North Carolina. We have VizArt Video. They still rent movies and they're doing great, but they're considered a 501c charity now, instead of a per se straight up business. But there are people that still come in and do it. They just can't survive on that alone. Same thing with Orbit DVD in Asheville, North Carolina. They rented for a while, but COVID killed that. So they went to primarily just selling new products, old products, stuff like that. So I do think you'll have those little boutique style stores like you were talking about, but as a grand scale, like anything remotely close to it used to be, I don't think it's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to happen, but I think, we all collect. So
I was gonna say,
yeah,
we have our own. Tony has his own video store behind him. Kevin has his own video store behind him, and I have my own video store down.
If you could see on that side of the camera, you'd see my video store too.
Yeah.
So trust me.
You could see the Doom Room. I mean,
but the other thing, especially with mom and pop stuff, I remember definitely not in Blockbuster, but two of the video stores. You could sit there for hours because not only Wolfie was talking to the people that knew what they were talking about movies, but then they also had the one by me had 3 video game stacks. So then people would just go in there and, play video games for a few hours, or you could lose yourself in there at that point in time. Then I remember the other thing too. I don't remember Blockbuster having them, but I remember them having the big gumball machines with them free rental or whatever. So then you'd be looking around and being like, okay, I'm going to try for this one piece of gum or something like that. So that was
I do that
different
every time, man.
With with the mom and pop shop. Okay, I got $1. Let me see if I can get a free movie out of it or whatever.
I
So
would
that
do
was
that every
different.
time, man. Yep.
So some years back, up the road from where I am now, some years back, the local grocery store had still rented out videos, and the old couple were just, the people that owned it were old, and they were just like, this is it. We're in our 70s. We want to retire. Nobody wants to buy the business, so we're just gonna sell off everything, and that's it. So they're selling off everything, and I'm going in there like daily to see if I could find I love fire sales. That's the one thing that sucks about video stores closing is like, they close, but I get a lot of cool stuff out of it. So this goes to what Tony was just talking about. So I go in there and I'm looking through all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I got this, and picking some stuff up, and I walk over and I put a quarter in the giant gumball machine, and it says 1 free rental on it. And so I take it over to that lady that's, going out of business. I go, well, it says 1 free rental. What do I do? And she goes, pick a movie. It's yours.
Wow.
And so I picked up Skinwalkers. That tells you how long ago this was, because that was actually a new movie at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I picked up Skinwalkers, and so to me, that's my best deal ever on a movie because it cost me 25 cents.
Right.
But that shows you right there. I mean, obviously things have changed over the last couple of years. I don't want it to change, but every time we go into a Best Buy or go into a Walmart, the video section's smaller and smaller.
Yep.
And it stinks, but that's the thing is, like, now I don't buy as many movies, but I can use the money that I save to like help Indiegogos and stuff like that and get like a limited release or something like that.
Yeah.
The thing is that what I look at is, Blockbuster's out of business and stuff. But see, the thing is, I think if people try to open up, a smaller business, you never know. Any business that you try to open up is either, a win or a loss. But the popularity of that last Blockbuster is, who knows if it's just the nostalgia kick of it or whatever, or it being the last Blockbuster. That thing does Airbnbs and all this stuff. So who knows, the next wave can't come with someone opening up something, because the thing is,
you're very hopeful, and I really don't see it.
That Blockbuster, you could rent out. You can rent out to stay there overnight.
Yeah, that's what the Airbnb part of it is like. Just see. The thing is, there's times where it is fun to sit there and turn on. It's nice and easy to go on Netflix or something like that and just sit there and flick through something. But also, I've posted on like my Facebook. I'm like, who remembers the days of going out on a Friday night with the family or something and walking through? There's no experience like that anymore. It's just the thing too with with cover art. It could bite you in the ass because you'd be like, oh, that's the greatest thing I've ever saw. We rented, and it's like, what the hell? It has nothing. Whatever. But that was the fun of it. Spend a half an hour walking down the aisles, being like, you want this one? You want to check this one out? We already saw that one or something. Like, there's no experience like that. And I don't have any kids or anything, but I'm sure it would be awesome to relive my childhood and be like, oh, here, check this out. Or so I don't know. I mean,
always in the back of my mind, you're gonna have to get all those people that agree with you and put them all in one town, because that's and then open a store there, and then you'll be good. Because that's the thing is, it's like, I know people that are like my age that don't have a DVD player or a Blu-ray player. They just don't need one anymore. Like if anything, they have a game system and they go, I guess I could play it on that. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many a times where I look at, my stuff and I'm just like, I wouldn't have to, purchase anything. I would just have to, besides a building or something. I'm like, I was looking into,
bring people up,
building something in my garage or something like that, where it's just like through the little garage or something. But
There's only one problem with that, Tony. You're now loaning out shit
to people you don't know.
You don't know whether or not you're ever going to get it back, and if you do get it back, you're not sure you're going to get it back in the way you let it out.
Yeah, that is true. Very true.
Yeah.
So when you want to go back and watch the stuff,
yeah, there's been times where I've rented movies and I've brought it home and like it doesn't work or it gets chewed up or whatever. Or it's like, it's all warped in the center. Like when it was like old VHS.
VHS would do that.
Yeah.
And one thing I just want to touch on too, you were talking about earlier about you would be able to sit with the person that works in a video store and like pick their brain and get good recommendations. I do have to say that it was less likely to get good recommendations at the Blockbuster in my area. A lot of the people that worked at the Blockbuster were just there for a job. They weren't there because they love movies. There was a few people that were. It was very rare. The mom and pop, those are like the people you're like, I like this. What else do I like? And then they would point out all these other things,
But that's like at that point in time, it's their like kind of livelihood, especially like the mom and pop stuff. Like Blockbuster was going to be there because it was corporate. But you go to like a mom and pop shop and you ask for a recommendation and they give you a crappy one. Then
They're
it's
not
like,
coming back.
why would I come back? And you give them a good movie to watch, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to come back here and ask you for another one kind of deal. So it's like a little bit more for a livelihood at that point in time.
Now we just pay Netflix to give us suggestions. That's all we do.
The other thing was half the times the guys that worked at like the mom and pop stores, they're like, I'm only doing this because I'm going to school to become a director or a writer or an actor or whatever. It's like, so I figured I might as well just work in a video place.
Well, wasn't that the deal with Kevin Smith and Brian Johnson? Like
and
Quentin Tarantino,
yeah. That's
what's
awesome.
funny is if you know the actress Awkwafina, who was in Shang-Chi and stuff like that, her first job was in a little indie video store in New York.
Oh, nice.
So that's what kind of developed her wanting to be an actress, was being in a little mom and pop video store.
That's cool. And now I don't, because I brought up Kevin Smith and Brian Johnson. Have you ever been to RSD Video?
I haven't, man.
No,
I want to, because I've seen
literally right there
pics.
There's still movies on the shelf in there.
Wow.
Yeah, like we went to the Quick Stop, and next door you can look right in the window, and there's still VHS tapes on the shelf.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, let me in, just give me some stuff.
There's been so many video stores that on this journey that we've been on filming that we've tracked down and then seen that, through the glass, and we've called everybody we could to figure out who owns it, and just couldn't get in. And there was such good stuff like there.
I don't know what kind of stuff was there, but they definitely had stuff on the shelf, and it was pretty like sun bleached and stuff like that. Like it's been sitting there for a while, but that's the charm to it, I guess, right?
Have you ever done the fire sale thing, Bobby?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Have you ever done the fire sale thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was I guess several years back, there was a bunch of them going on around here in the country area, and I went in and just loaded up. Like, I mean, 4 for $1, 5 for $1, that kind of thing.
It's a good deal, and it's fun, and it's cool. Like, you found good stuff, but at the same time too, it's like, well, this is gone now. Like, there was a place called the Video Arcade in my town, and it was huge. It was an old like small grocery store that turned into like the whole place was like a video store, and it was pretty great. And I went in there and I just bought like all of the seasons of The Shield just because they had them. And it was like they were cheap. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is awesome. Right. And it's like, but then now you're gone. And now I can't rent the Shields from you. Oh, well, like, I don't know. It just stinks. So is there any, do you see yourself doing the documentary thing continuing, or is it something where you're going to be dipping into some other stuff?
Well, what's cool about it is 10 years ago this year is when I wrote and directed my first movie ever. And it was just a little low budget horror movie that we made with some friends. Then, I had my kids and I kind of put it on the back burner for a while. I was a big movie fan, but the making them aspect I wasn't doing. And then I worked with my friend on a movie set, and then I made the post about the documentary. So since the documentary, people have really been hitting me up, asking me to do this and that. So I've worked on Shark Exorcist 2 with Donald Farmer. I'm working on a low budget horror movie next week, actually, called The Wendigo for 4 days at a campground here in North Carolina. And then in April, I actually got an acting role in it's like a sex comedy called Babe Beach about these two kids that are going to this fictional Babe Beach where all the girls are hot, like that typical throwback, like screwball sex comedy thing.
That's awesome.
So I got in that. And then I'm going to be in a movie with Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker, and Michael St. Michael's, who was in The Greasy Strangler.
Oh yeah,
So I actually got a role in that movie. So I'm flying out to Kansas City, Missouri, in April for that as well. And then I just started writing a screenplay for a film I'm going to film in May, hopefully. So
that's awesome. This is like really kind of
yeah,
kickstarted some stuff for you.
It
That's
really
great.
did. It really did. And my wife told me, she's like, if you want to do this, go with it. See
That's
where it
awesome.
goes. You know. So I have an idea for a sequel to this documentary. If this documentary does well and blows up and as big as I hope it will be, and what it's going to be is mom and pop across the world, because I've had people message me from Taiwan saying we had mom and pop stores here,
Wow.
Mexico, Canada, Germany, Australia, they've all had mom and pop video stores, and they've been so dramatically different than ours. Like in Taiwan, the guy said that they would buy the movies, they would come in and they're American movies. Then they would get a recorder and they would try to guess what they were saying and talk over it and then rent that movie. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many crazy stories when it comes to mom and pops, so it would be great to tell that side of the story and go around and do that.
That would be cool. I'd watch that one too.
I would. That's also very interesting. It reminds me of like you see like those hand painted like movie posters, like
like the Ghana posters. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just nothing to do with the movie. Like
that's it. It was, the language barrier was so strong they had no idea, so they would just watch it and try to figure out what it was meaning.
Wow.
Well, have you ever seen the Polish? I think it's the Polish movie poster for Alien.
I don't think I have.
It's like 2 eyeballs and like what looks like a pair of lungs. And that's pretty much it. And it's like you're going, because there was a time when I was like just looking at like all international posters for like well-known American movies, or whatever. It's like, wow.
Yeah, you should. There's a website for all those hand painted like ones from Ghana, right? Like
Ghana and
I've got one actually right here.
Do you really? That's awesome.
Yeah, hold on, I'll show it to you. It's The Thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna see.
Is it like a legit one or is it like a copy of one?
No, it's a copy of one, but it's actually not a bad one.
No.
They actually have it
cool,
fairly
that's
decent.
Still pretty awesome. Yeah. There's a couple of them like there's websites that have them. Like my friend will post them every once in a while, and it's like for some reason whoever this one guy is painting like he always puts snakes and he always put planes in them.
Yeah.
Like, there's no snakes in this movie at all. There's no planes in this movie, and it's like there's a plane like crashing, and there's always like a giant snake attacking somebody. But
hey, he had a style and he went with it, man.
Totally, yeah.
So, of all the movies that you have, what's the movie that you don't have that you want to be released on physical media? I know what Kevin's answer is.
Well, but it's not physical media, but it's not on the best physical media.
I know, but I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I would say, and I'm pretty sure it's not released on a Blu-ray. I know it's been released on a DVD, but I don't know if you've seen The Burning Moon. It's a German like splatter gore movie.
Yeah.
Dude, I own a copy. It's on Blu-ray.
Is it on Blu-ray? Okay, I need the Blu-ray of that. But yeah, like that was one of the first like gore movies that I've seen that just kind of like blew me away. Like the story, the effects, like it's amazing. So I didn't even know it was on Blu-ray. I knew Mondo put it on regular DVD, but I didn't know that it was on a Blu-ray. So
is it Mondo that put out the Blu-ray too, Wolfie?
No.
Or is it like one of those like low?
I think
someone bought the rights.
It's on Blu-ray, but I think it's a German release.
Okay.
So.
Makes
for
sense.
me, it's one that I've wanted forever, and it's not nearly as gory or anything, but it's the movie May.
Oh yeah. I remember watching May when it first came out. I worked at Hollywood Video when it came out.
It's never been released on Blu-ray. I don't know why.
That's crazy. It's a good movie too.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
There's
one of these days.
There's a bunch that are like my 90s like
pick one
movies. One it would be like Adventures in Dinosaur City.
Love that. I rented it so many times.
Omri Cats from Hocus Pocus and Erie, Indiana and stuff. So it has, I believe, a VHS release.
Yeah, I've got it on VHS.
But it never, probably on a bootleg DVD or something. But I know Full Moon puts out a lot of. I just picked up Dragon World.
Yeah, I bought that from Moonbeam. Yeah, their Moonbeam label.
So I got that, and then Prehysteria was another one, and they've released the first Prehysteria, but not the other one. I'm like, you got to put out the rest of this. They weren't great by any stretch of the imagination, but
But
I
yeah,
bought a
you're
whole bunch of stuff
completist.
from Full Moon the other day.
Exactly.
I bought Prehysteria, I bought Pet Shop, and a bunch of other ones. From
You
them,
should have
yeah.
waited, man. Full Moon's having a big sale tomorrow. 50% off everything.
I should have waited. Well, I get their streaming service, and they always give you free stuff to sign up
That's
for their
true.
streaming service for a year.
Oh, that's
So they
awesome.
sent me like $100 gift card. So I was like,
Wow.
yeah, I just used that. They
That's
gave
so-
me
that's
more on the
sick.
gift card than it cost the.
I was at a con and Charles Band was there and I'm forgetting, was it Megan Ward? Is that her
Yeah.
name? The actress?
Yep.
She was also in Freaked, and I had a big crush
yeah.
on her when she was in Freaked. But and like they had us sign up for the streaming service, and they gave us 2 Blu-rays just for doing that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then they did like an interview with us, like me and my friend, my other friend Tony. Like Charles Band did an interview because my friend bought the head of the family, like bust, like the statues. He bought like the first ones or the last ones, one or the other.
Wow.
So they interviewed him. I was like, this is crazy.
Charles Band is the only guy we could not get in touch with.
Really?
Mom and Pop. I tried emailing Full Moon, emailing, tweeting, Facebook messaging, everything. Could not get in touch with him at all.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So if anybody's watching this and knows Charles Band, please tell him I want
Yeah.
to be in my movie before we're
Trying
done.
to think
with
if we know
production.
anyone who has like any connects. I know some people that have dealt with some stuff with Full Moon. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do some digging. If I find something, I'll let you know for sure.
Yeah, please, because like he's the only, like we made a list of who all we wanted involved,
Mhm.
and we have been able to nail everybody down except for Charles Band.
Wow.
So yeah, we're trying.
Wow, that's crazy. He
So
wants a whole movie just on him. Just
yeah,
do that.
I'll do a whole movie on him. if you
Yeah,
want.
it's,
I mean,
it's
he's just
probably
came out with
easy to
his
do.
book.
Yeah,
I could just adapt his book, you know. So I mean, yeah, I like Charles Band, you know.
yeah. So do I. He's I mean, not everything is great, but there's some really, really good stuff in there. So
Hey man, he you know, in the 80s when he did Wizard and he did Meta and stuff like that, like and Full Moon after that, like that was a big part of my childhood, all those
Mhm.
labels.
yeah, right alongside with Trauma for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
for
anything
sure.
by Corman, dude. I
There
mean,
you go.
Don't call me dude. Anyways, so it's
So
about
just-
time that I was going to say we have to wrap up in a minute. So what were you going to say, Wolfie?
Well, I was gonna say, so my one movie that I would love to have them release on video or on physical media, Blood Beach. If you've never seen it,
I've seen it. I have a bootleg DVD of it that I got from the VHS Preservation Society at a convention, and I bought like a stack of them off of them. And yeah, that was one of them because I remember watching it on VHS when I was younger.
yeah, I remember seeing it in theater, and it's like it was awesome, and then it came to cable, and it was awesome, and then it came to VHS, and it was awesome, and then
The cover art's amazing too. I love the cover art for it.
Yeah,
With the girl getting sucked in. Yeah, it's great.
Well, Wolfie, if I'm at a convention that they're at, because I've been at conventions where they're at, that VHS Preservation Society, I will try to grab you a copy and then I'll send it your way. How about
It's
that?
pretty. It's a decent little boot. Like it's not
Yeah?
bad.
Good
Yeah,
quality?
it's not too bad.
It basically
That's
it's
good enough.
Tremors ripped it off.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
I like Tremors.
I like Tremors too.
Yeah. Anyways, on that note, we can go off on Tremors for a whole other hour, but we don't want to do that. So Bobby,
Says you.
where can people go to find out more information about the movie and about what you're working on, and where to just follow for updates?
Yeah, best place to follow us is on Facebook. You can just search Mom and Pop, and literally it'll be the first thing that comes up. You can follow us on Twitter as well. We post both of those simultaneously because we notice that we have people that only use Twitter and the people that only use Facebook. So we hit both of those. But to make it super easy, you can go to momandpopdoc.com, and it will have all of our links on there for our IMDb, our Facebook, our Twitter, and our YouTube, which the YouTube is just my YouTube, and I just threw the trailer up there. So there'll be some updates and stuff on there, and then a trailer, but then a bunch of my random stuff too. But so yeah, Facebook and Twitter is really, and we're very active on there. So
nice,
always posting.
Cool, sounds good. Tony, what about yourself?
You can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. You'll find me on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, where I do movie updates, no twerking or anything.
he does all this crazy twerking stuff, dude.
Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, most Tuesday nights. Also, check out the Wicked Horror Show Instagram, where Kevin makes little thumbnails and stuff, and then it'll let you know who's, you know, up and coming or who were previous guests and stuff like that. So check out
Yeah.
Wicked Horror Show on Instagram.
And we got some
Okay.
some good guests in the works as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have a couple. We have a director next week that from Black Friday.
Black Friday, correct.
Nice, cool. And Wolfie, what about you?
You can find me on YouTube, The 13th Wolfman, Twitter at The 13th Wolfman, Tumblr, 13th Wolfman the Proud, doing the Wicked Horror reviews with Kev, doing the Wicked Horror Show twice a month, you know. And yeah, just check out the YouTube. I'm throwing something new up all the time. The one person I would love to get on here, if you have any ideas on how to get in touch with them, dude, I would love to interview Corman.
I can see what I can do. I know Donald's pretty good friends with him, Donald Farmer, and I'm pretty good friends with Donald Farmer, so I can throw him a line and see if there's anything we could do.
We don't want to spoil any friendships. So, but yeah, I mean that'd be cool. I mean, I know like we have a few people we're working on that. Well, we don't need to talk about this on the air, right? So, anyways, you can find me A-Knuckle on find me A-Knuckle on Instagram. Besides doing the show here and doing the reviews with Wolfie, I'm also part of Black and White Fright. We talk strictly about classic horror, and that's an audio podcast that's over on the Dorkening Podcast Network. For more information, go to thedorkening.com. Thanks for listening / watching, and have a good one. Goodbye. It's ending. 1 second. My mouse stopped working. Hurry up, mouse. There it is. I'm very professional.